turned the tables today, and I am interviewing the interviewer of Aaradhna, and that's Mr. Atal. We don't know much about Mr. Atal, so let's try and find out more about Mr. Atal. You're most welcome in our in your program, Aaradhna.
Thank you, Sushma ji, being on the hot seat.
Mr. Atal, you've been doing Aaradhna now for about 3 months. How do you find that?
Sushma ji, it has been a voyage of discovery for me. It came at the right time in my life. Behind the interviews which people see, there is a fair bit of conversation, learning,
yes,
telling, listening, and it has been great. You know, I have come to know some very wise people, and I couldn't have asked for anything better at this time in my life.
I think because you are a teacher by profession, and because you have an inquisitive mind and a scientist too, I think it gives you pleasure to meet many people, and there is this desire to learn always, isn't there?
Well, that's right. Learning is always around you, and I also believe in the dictum that the day you stop learning new things or new ideas, you start getting old. And of course, I don't want to get old.
No, nobody wants to get old. So Atal Sahab, tell me something about yourself. I know that you've lived in the lower mainland for many years. How did you come to Vancouver, and why did you come to Vancouver?
Sushma ji, I came here as a geologist in 1964.
A geologist?
Bhugarbh Shastra. And I was looking for a job, and Cominco at that time, which was known by a different name, they hired me as a summer geologist. And within 3 days of my coming to Vancouver, I was shipped to Yukon, the land of the midnight sun.
Holy!
So I had a lot of experiences there. I was there during summer when sun never sets. Then I was also there in winter when you don't see the sunshine.
So tell me something about that, off the topic a little bit. When you say the sun never sets, that means 24 hours a day you see the sun?
Oh yes, you can take a picture without flashlight at 12 o'clock midnight, just like you will do here in broad daylight. So it's a very unusual experience.
Doesn't your body get a bit disoriented?
Oh, you get tired, and then you just cover yourself and
go to sleep.
Darken the room, and you go to sleep because your body wants that. But sun doesn't cooperate with it. Sun doesn't set.
No.
And even if sun goes a little bit below the horizon, it comes right back up. So sunrise happens 2 or 2:30. So twilight is there for a while.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a tremendous experience for me.
How long did you stay there for?
And I was there for 2 summers, 2 summer and a winter.
Oh my God.
And all this experience of those first 4 years as a geologist, because eventually I got really tired of being a geologist. It was a very demanding profession. Then I came into teaching.
What did you have to do as a geologist?
Oh, you look for gold, silver, lead, zinc. That's what I did.
And did you find any?
And yes, we did our share, but it doesn't mean there is a mine there.
Right.
We found it,
right.
But it wasn't possible to set up a paying mine, you know, a mine which will produce money. So it was a good experience, but it gave me a perception of how big Canada is. And I think when I became a teacher, that experience was a stabilizing influence, because I never had a feeling that I was bored or it wasn't challenging enough.
Right.
Because having gone through that, teaching became very, very pleasurable, and I was able to use my geology as well as my physics to teach high school classes.
Now, were you a teacher in India, or did you just finish your education and come straight to Canada?
I think I was in India. I was there for 3 years as a geologist, and then I came here to do my PhD, actually, to Oregon State. And then I came to Canada as a summer student.
I see.
And that's how. So my life, if you notice, it's a series of coincidences, and that's the way life, most of us are here where we are, because of a set of coincidences.
So are you, if I wanted to ask you about your preference of religion, are you a practicing Hindu?
I regard myself as a believing Hindu and practicing Hindu, but on the practicing side, maybe I'm not very conventional. but deep inside I'm
Okay,
very devoted.
let's talk about a conventional Hindu and a very devoted Hindu. So who would you term as a conventional Hindu?
A conventional Hindu will do puja every day, go to temple, take prasad, do aarti, and all the trappings of being a Hindu which are visible to outside, they do it. They will go to satsang, and they will try to have murtis, all the religion and whole bunch of religions.
All the deities and
yes,
deity worshipping and all that.
You never miss anything. If there is Diwali program, you go Diwali, and if there is katha somewhere, you always go there. And I'm not very conventional that way.
So now in my mind, I was brought up as a Hindu as well, and deity worshipping was there, but I was put in a school where I was taught that deity worshipping wasn't the way of life, Hindu way of life. And there was great conflict in my mind, because in our house we had all the murtis, all the deities, and the different gods and goddesses that Hindu religion has were recognized in our household. Yet at school I was told that was the quote-unquote downfall of Hinduism.
So you went to a Arya Samaj school.
I went to an Arya Samaj
and
school.
You are quite right, it does create conflict. And let me correct you, Sushma ji, I don't think there are gods and goddesses. There is one God, one supreme being. And that's what the fundamental tenet of Hinduism is. But then what about Vishnu, Mahesh, and
so where does all that come from?
they are different incarnations of the same power, supreme power. Supreme power is one. So when I pray before Shiva or Vishnu, I see in that the same power, which is Paramatma. And this is kind of abstract.
Don't you think that aspect of Hinduism is somehow lost? Because it is someone said a very interesting statement, and I really liked it, and said that when you're born, all the human beings born are born Hindu, because Hinduism doesn't have conversion. You are born into Hinduism. You cannot convert to Hinduism. So Hinduism does not have conversion, like Christianity, for example, or Islam, for example. So when you are born Hindu, your beliefs are to be like other religions, a good human being, look after your neighbors, look after your parents, look after your brothers and sisters, be honest, be kind. And then you have the other aspect where you have Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Shiv, Kali, Durga, Hanuman, and all that aspect comes. So it almost seems like there's a story going on right next to the main religion. There's a subsidiary.
Let me come to your first point. A Hindu sees one Atma, and that Atma is a derived form of the same Paramatma in everyone.
Right.
Not just in Muslim or Buddhist or Christian. And it's the same Atma. And that means a Hindu sees the shadow of the same Godhead, and therefore there is no conflict. That other person is following his or her own path, because the path is the same, because Hinduism believes in the freedom from the bondage of Janam and Punarjanam, birth and life cycle. So in other words, if there is a Buddhist, he is following the path which is chosen by his faith to reach the same Almighty which I am. Therefore, there is no fundamental conflict. In fact, we extend this concept to even all living forms. And you see, if I'm a Hindu, every living thing, in fact, not even living, but also every form
of
is
life
derived from same Paramatma. It's the creation of the same Almighty. So if I want to insult the Almighty, I will insult another human being, or I will desecrate the river, or I will destroy the forest, because I see God or shadow of the same Paramatma in each form. So that's very broad-based religion, and that is such a beautiful religion, Because once you start seeing it, suddenly you become free from a lot of conflicts.
So are we practicing Hindus here? Do you see many practicing Hindus?
It's kind of complex, but let me give you an example.
Yeah.
If a child is playing with a toy, let's say it's an engine. For the child, that is the engine. It doesn't matter whether it is a wooden piece or not. That toy is the engine, real engine.
True.
The perception of the child says that. So when we worship Shiva, we are worshipping the same Almighty, because our perception says that it is the Murti of Shiva, or it is an idol made of, say, marble.
Right.
But I see Anubhuti, there is a shabd in Sanskrit, Anubhuti. I see in that piece of rock the same Almighty. And this helps me visualize that, and visualization is very powerful
and concentration.
too. And concentrate. And that's what is most important. With one single-mindedness, if I can look at that piece of rock and assume that the Paramatma is in there, that becomes the deity for me. Of course, in day-to-day life, Sushmaji, people don't have time to get into abstractions. and that's what the purification is. As we grow older, we become more mature, and we start seeing the real form of Hinduism.
Now, I know in Aaradhna we have interviewed many learned people. Swami Shantanandji was here, and prior to that we had Videhiji here as well. And you asked them the question of the way Hindu life is, or the 4 ashrams, which is brahmacharya, grihast, vanprasth, and sannyas. Does each Hindu have to believe in all that, or do we automatically do it? Or is our life automatically divided in those 4 ashrams?
They conceptualize the whole life
Right.
in those, and this is such a beautiful division, Sushmaji. In one stage, you acquire knowledge, and you become wiser in the worldly ways. Then next stage, you procreate and raise your progeny. And in the third stage, you start withdrawing, because in the attachment, our Hindu sages saw a lot of unhappiness.
Right.
Because attachment does lead to sadness and unhappiness and frustration. And in the last stage, they say you leave aside the cycle of karma, cycle of life and death, and go toward the Almighty, because after all, you yourself, your body is not you. You are the soul, and that soul is part of the Almighty. It's just like an electric current, these electrons flowing through different appliances. And eventually all these electrons belong to the same source, which is the power generator. So even though we look different, Sushmaji, we go through different phases of life, different experiences of life. Essentially, we are part of the same Almighty, and that is the fundamental belief system. Another fundamental belief system is the Punarjanma.
Right,
and
the reincarnation.
Hinduism most unique.
Right.
And without the concept of reincarnation, Sushmaji, I don't see how we can explain what we see in the world.
I think that concept, in a way, helps a soul and a human being go through life feeling that, okay, if I didn't get it this time, I probably will get it next time. Or if I haven't done anything wrong in this particular life and I am being punished for something which I haven't done, maybe it is because I did something in my past birth. So it's sort of, in a way, a cop-out. But I think because you can't do anything about the situation, it gives you that sense of, I can't do anything about it. So it's happened, I might as well live with it, and maybe in my next life it would be better. I don't know how you're going to feel about this next statement that I'm going to make. I personally feel, as a Hindu, that before you're about to take birth, you are given a set of lives in front of you, that there's this household, there's that household, and according to all the stuff that you've done,
destiny is set.
Exactly, according to all the stuff that you've done in your last birth, you have to learn this and this and this and that, and you can get it in these households. So choose, select the household you want to go to, and we select the households we want to come to. So when we are here, this is what I wanted to do. So I have no right to complain about the type of life I am leading right now.
That will make it too deterministic.
Do you think so?
I have a feeling our karma builds our life, and therefore Hinduism inspires you to do the karma which is not attached. And in this particular way of looking at it, I have to do what I need to do because it defines your dharma.
Right.
And my dharma toward my wife, toward my children, toward my parents. And if I do that, and if I don't have any expectation of reward, then that karma is non-binding, and that karma slowly and slowly leads you to that. But maybe it's part of illusion or maya, as Sushmaji we say.
Yes.
We are here,
yes.
and we are trapped in this maya, and our heart and our emotions and our tendencies and our place of birth is determined largely by the kind of actions we did last life. But it always gives us hope, because that karma will maybe in the next life make me become a prince or something like that. So it's a life cycle. It's an ongoing cycle, Hinduism believes, because in some other religions, I believe it's much more deterministic. You start when you are born, and you are gone, and I think it will be very boring. I think it will give you very little to hope for.
Right.
And
this way, at least your life continues going on.
It's a cycle. It's a life and death cycle. But if we had more time, we will, and my understanding of Hinduism is somewhat limited, Sushma. But some of the discussions have told me that the Hinduism philosophy is very, very deep. And just because you see me doing something
doesn't necessarily
lead you to real understanding.
No, my idea today was to give you the taste of your own interview style, and let our viewers know what your deep thoughts on Hinduism are, and how you practice that. And it is interesting to notice that we as Hindus haven't done that much to promote our beliefs, and I do find that Hindus do not impose their beliefs on anybody, and that's, I guess, a way of life.
Hinduism is not passive, it's very active, proactive in fact, and I feel the day we as Hindus in this Western society learn to live as our scriptures have said. And scriptures haven't said something which was said 5,000 years ago. Scriptures allowed us to live in a modern way, but follow the precepts. Then our friends and our relatives, our neighbors, they will see the real Hinduism through our life and through our actions, and so will our children. I think that's the whole idea. Our children should learn the nature of Hinduism by watching us live that.